Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is one that will leave you questioning how far people will go to bury the truth. It's about lies, cover-ups, and the courage it takes to uncover what others tried so hard to hide. This is the story of the secret they tried to bury. It started in the quiet town of Ridgefield, where almost nothing ever made the news. That changed one rainy night in 2012, when a local schoolteacher named Anna Reynolds vanished without a trace. Her car was found abandoned near a forest trail, doors unlocked, her purse still inside. At first, police assumed it was a case of suicide or someone running away, but the truth was far darker. The investigation was rushed. Detectives believed Anna had been dealing with stress, citing vague diary entries about feeling watched and needing to escape. They didn't dig deeper. They didn't ask who she thought was watching her or why. Within weeks, the case went cold, but Anna's family refused to believe she had taken her own life. Her brother, Daniel Reynolds, kept pushing for answers. He visited the police department almost every week, only to be told there were no new leads. What he didn't know was that there were leads, but someone didn't want them followed. 2 years later, a local journalist named Claire Dawson began working on a podcast about missing persons. She came across Anna's file by chance. Something about it caught her eye, the inconsistencies, the missing reports, and especially a photo of Anna's car that showed fresh tire tracks beside it. Those tracks were never analyzed. Claire started digging. She requested the full case file, but parts of it were unavailable. Some documents were marked as lost in storage. It didn't make sense. Why would files in an unsolved disappearance suddenly go missing? When she interviewed the original detective on the case, his responses were short and defensive. There was nothing suspicious, he insisted, but when she pressed about the missing reports, he hung up. That's when Claire knew there was more to this story than anyone had admitted. She managed to contact one of the retired officers who had worked the scene. Hesitant at first, he later told her something chilling. There had been another man's footprints near Anna's car leading toward the woods. They were larger, heavy, sold, and definitely not hers. He had noted it in his report, but that report, he said, never made it into the file. The retired officer claimed he was told to drop it because it didn't fit the narrative. That phrase haunted Claire. What narrative were they trying to protect? Over the next several months, she pieced together fragments from Anna's last known days. Witnesses reported seeing a dark SUV near her home multiple times before she vanished. One neighbor remembered hearing raised voices the night before, Anna arguing with a man, but police never questioned anyone about that SUV. Claire traced the vehicle registration through local records and found that an SUV matching the description was owned by Greg Harlow, a respected businessman in Ridgefield and a major donor to the local police foundation. That connection changed everything. She discovered that Greg had been a parent at the same school where Anna worked. Several teachers confirmed that Anna had once filed a complaint about him making inappropriate advances, but it had disappeared from the school's HR files soon after. When Claire tried to interview Greg, his lawyer shut it down immediately. That alone spoke volumes. But she wasn't done. She began comparing timelines, phone records, text messages, and police reports, and noticed something strange. Greg had been in the same area where Anna's phone last pinged, just minutes before she disappeared. Claire took her findings to the police, but they dismissed it as coincidence. One officer even warned her to be careful with what she's suggesting. It was clear someone wanted this story buried for good. Refusing to stop, Claire went public. She released a 3 podcast exposing the gaps in the investigation, the missing evidence, and Greg's possible involvement. The series went viral overnight. Within days, state investigators reopened the case under public pressure. When the old evidence was re-examined using modern forensic techniques, everything changed. DNA found under Anna's fingernails, once considered too small to test, matched Greg Harlow. That single match shattered the illusion of innocence that had protected him for years. Police raided Greg's home and found a collection of hidden drives containing photos, documents, and even messages proving he had been stalking Anna in the weeks before she vanished. The truth was no longer buried, it was exposed for the world to see. Greg was arrested and charged with kidnapping and murder. During the trial, it was revealed that he had used his influence to suppress reports and intimidate officers into dropping leads. One detective testified that he was directly told by superiors not to touch Harlow's name. The town of Ridgefield was stunned. The same man who had donated to local charities and posed as a pillar of the community had manipulated the very system meant to deliver justice. For Anna's family, the revelation was both painful and liberating. After nearly 8 years of unanswered questions, they finally had closure. Daniel Reynolds stood outside the courthouse, tears in his eyes, saying, "They tried to bury the truth, but it refused to stay hidden." Claire Dawson's investigation not only brought justice to Anna, but also exposed corruption within the Ridgefield Police Department. Several officers resigned and the department underwent a complete review. The retired officer who first spoke to her became a key witness in the reform hearings. In the end, Greg Harlow was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. The courtroom fell silent as the judge said, "This case is a reminder that no secret stays buried forever." The story of Anna Reynolds became a symbol proof that persistence, truth, and courage can stand against even the most powerful lies. Claire's podcast won multiple awards. But for her, the real victory was giving a voice to someone who had been silenced. She later said, "The truth doesn't vanish, it just waits for someone brave enough to dig it up." And that's the heart of this story. Behind every buried secret lies a chain of decisions, people choosing silence over truth. But as we've seen, even the deepest lies eventually come to light.